Basically, my name is Hamad Farah, basically, and I joined Catfish Project or the Catfish Group about June of last year, I do believe, or even a bit earlier than that, if I may not be mistaken. And I studied a master's in renewable energy systems. Prior to that, I had a bachelor's in electrical engineering from the Emirates. Basically, before moving out to Sweden and pursuing my master's in renewable energy systems, and basically that's where I met Ali and Harvey, and we started off with the Catfish project that you guys see today. Of course, Ali and Harvey were the ones who started, and I just joined in as one of the first members early on. In my head, of course, this definition might differ from one person to another, but I guess in my opinion, if you ask me what is the idea of catfish, for me personally, I would say that catfish is an ecosystem, or like an ecosystem of various components and sensors, and that have like a common or a shared goal of detecting water pollution levels within water bodies in general. When I say water bodies, it could be like a river, lake, etc., and so on. So Catfish to me is not just a project in the core, it's more of something that we need to do for our society and our community. And one of the main motivating factors that helped me in pursuing or sticking with the group was mainly due to the fact that I believed in the goal of this project, and we need to take care of our waters, basically, because water is crucial for survival, and not just because of that, it's also because of the environmental aspect of what catfish could bring to the entire ecosystem, not just the water ecosystem but everything else. So to put it in short, I think it was the true goal, or the true vision that Catfish hopes to achieve, that kept me motivated throughout the course of the project. As I said earlier, I met Ali and Harvey in the early stages of Catfish project, and that's how I joined. Basically, they just needed an engineer to start with the sensors and the technical part. Okay, so why? I think I pretty much answered that in the previous point as well. So I believe in the core essence, or the core message of the whole, or the core value of this whole project, that is trying to make our environment and our world a better place, basically. So I think that's why I joined it. Well, as I said earlier, I joined as the electrical engineer, or aiding Ali and Harvey with the technical parts. So basically, I am the one who's responsible for the sensors, or who was responsible for the sensors, the microcontrollers, the computing side of things, and the electrical components, the circuits and everything. So partially also a little bit with motors when we introduced Michael into the group as well. Well, honestly, I've learned mostly a lot of things about how to deal with different sort of components or pollutants within, let's say, water bodies. So I never really had that environmental scope or perspective as an engineer, and I think that it's a really interesting thing to learn more about how our rivers and our, waters function in general, and what's the risk towards these sites and these ecosystem structures that we have in our society, and how could we as engineers also get involved with this within this specific field. probably I would say the lack of professionals that we. I mean, of course, with all due respect to all of us, we're all, I think we're pretty good in our respective fields, but at the same time, it's a different thing when you have a professional, someone who's been in that field or who's been working with sensors or let's say motors or environmental analysis or something for like 20, 30 years. So I think we kind of have that gap. We don't have someone to kind of like hold our hand or guide us through this, and I think that was one of the main challenges, or is still one of the main challenges, because honestly what we're doing is amazing. We have no sort of like mentor or someone who kind of literally pinpoints at what we're supposed to do. So it was pretty much all by our efforts, like from organizing meetings to down to the technical parts, and everything else was just pretty much done by students. So yeah, that's, I think it itself is quite a challenge, but something that we could overcome. Another challenge I do believe was, of course, the economical aspect. We always had to keep in mind that we have a budget, so we didn't really have that luxury of spending money on the most expensive, top of the market tier machines or sensors or whatever. Catfish, or the essence of catfish, is teamwork. Without teamwork, we would not have come this far, honestly. We were very. I am very grateful to have worked with one of the most talented people that I've met so far. I'm very grateful that we have this communication level, that we are able to, how should I say, communicate thoughts and ideas and different sort of messages without the need of going through a struggle or having some form of like miscommunication between the team members. And I think that is in itself is a blessing, because when it comes to companies and not companies but in general, when it comes to working in teams and projects, you're always going to have some issues with getting your message through. But I never felt that at Catfish. I felt that everybody was welcoming towards new suggestions and ideas, and that itself helped in motivating me to exceed my limits. So basically, I was always encouraged to do whatever I saw fit. In some way, of course, after consulting the team was always supportive of what I did, and at the same time, I wanted to provide that same support to all my team members. And I think teamwork is basically, as I said, the bread and butter of this whole project and this whole team.